Hey, what's up? New episode of On the Run. I'm JoJo, here with Taylor.
What's up, guys?
And we're gonna have a really cool guest here today, but I think he's still hungover from his world record because Canadian Corey Belmore broke the world record in the beer mile again by 1 second. He ran 4:34 in 2016. Now the world record's 4:33. You watched the race. What were your thoughts on his new world record?
I did watch the race. It was a barn burner, basically. He just dominated, and it was a good field. I mean, they brought back a lot of the best beer milers in the world.
Like Corey Gallagher's a former world record holder, too.
Yep, Corey Gallagher was in the race. He was third. Track and field journalist Cathal Dennehy was also
impressive.
In the race. He was a little further back, 5:25, but still super solid.
An Irish national record, apparently.
Irish national record.
5:25, that's fast.
It's really fast, especially
I feel like,
for someone who doesn't train for this.
I know. I feel like he's lying, because he's like starting to be known for like being the fastest media guy at all of these events. So I think he's got like some secret training regimen he's doing.
He's training in between riding.
Yeah.
Probably. But yeah, this race was took place during the halftime show of a soccer game in San Francisco at Kezar Stadium, and the crowd was packed. The MC was hilarious. I loved it. I watched the whole thing. It was 12 minutes long. It was awesome. I kind of wish I was there.
I know.
Jealous. Yeah.
Unfortunately, we're not doing the Flo Beer Mile again this year, but Corey came the last time we had one, last December. And he didn't set the world record, but it was him versus Lewis Kent, the former world record holder. And it's so fun. It's so fun to watch. Well, it's fun to do one, and then it's fun to watch really fast people, because it still blows my mind every single time how fast they can still run after drinking beer.
Yeah. Well, that and how fast they're chugging.
Yeah.
I mean, 5-6 seconds, the best ones.
It's insane.
And I still crack up every time I see, like when I was watching the race this morning, all the good ones had the glove, to twist off the tops of the beer. Like, they have it down to a science. That's hilarious to me. But you have to, it's seconds. It's literally seconds that you're trying to, lower your time, and everything counts. So, and
I think some people just definitely, I don't know, something with if you can open your esophagus more, or just, there's some people who are just good at chugging, and I don't know if that's a learned trait, or you just have to be born that way.
I think part of it is genetics.
Yeah, because Corey, I remember last year he said he doesn't really train for the beer mile, he's an athlete, he's like a professional athlete.
Yeah.
He's really close to making the world team for Canada this year. He's fourth in the 8 and the 15. I have his TILA page right here. Let me read you his PRs. His PRs, he's run 3:42 for the 15 and 1:47 for the 8.
Which is really solid.
Yeah.
Like that is super solid.
And 4:33 now for the beer mile. And now, we're going into 2018. He's going to have been the world record holder for like 2 years.
Yeah.
I wonder, who's going to be the next guy to come up?
Well, he and Lewis Kent kind of changed the beer mile game a little bit. They showed that you can't just be super good at chugging beer. You have to be a really, really good runner without beer as well. And we kind of thought, that's why a lot of people were really interested in seeing Nick Symmonds run a couple of years ago, because he's obviously an incredibly talented runner and Olympian, and has all these accolades, but his beer chugging skills weren't quite up there, and that made him slower in the beer mile.
I remember I was kind of surprised. I remember watching that one, and before I worked at Flo, and we had like this big watch party with this big jumbotron outside the running store that I worked at. And I actually thought that he was gonna win, because I was like, oh, it's Nick Symmonds. He's like fast and he can do it. But
yeah. On paper,
it
makes sense, but beer mile is the ultimate equalizer.
Yeah.
You add beer into the equation of running a mile, and it's a total game changer, obviously. So, but now that, the world record is 4:33 and has been in that range for so long, it just shows that if you want to break the world record in the beer mile, you also have to be a super solid middle distance runner and a really good beer chugger.
And both those guys have contracts, which is pretty cool. It's a sport. It's a real sport.
Yeah.
But
who would have thought? 3 years ago, we did the first beer mile world championships. We would be here today.
Seriously. But, of course, the other big news of the weekend had nothing to do with beer and everything to do with running.
Yes.
Because it was the Division I Conference Championship weekend. And, you know, we kind of split up the duties this past weekend. You were on recap duty all day Friday, which a lot of the major conferences were Friday. What were some of the highlights and your favorite moments from covering the meets Friday?
Oh, man. Well, it was a whirlwind. They all just kind of happened back to back to back. But I was super impressed with, coming from the Pac-12, I was really interested in seeing what happened in the Pac-12. Some pretty big upsets, you know. The Stanford men came away with the title, the Pac-12 conference title. First time in 7 years that Colorado hasn't won the Pac-12. I put them down as winning the Pac-12 when we made our predictions because I've seen it. For the past 7 years, they have just dominated. I mean, right when they got there in 2011, it was just barn burners across the board. Men and women swept, and it just continued this trend. Every year, Colorado would roll out at Pac-12s and just destroy everybody, and I thought they would do the same thing this year. And no, Stanford stepped up and finally ran all their guys at this meet and just unleashed this fury on the Pac-12. And it was super exciting to watch. I watched it live, and Grant Fisher got that individual title, which was very exciting.
At the end, you know, I feel like he just decided, him and Joe Klecker right next to each other, and then Grant was like, okay, I'm done, bye.
Yeah, and Mahmoud Amar Musa's little brother, sticking his nose in there in that top group the last mile or so. I was like, whoa, we're gonna see an upset here? But he had a really good race too, and pushed it. And then on the women's side, Colorado women beating Oregon is a big deal. Oregon defending NCAA champs. I thought that was pretty exciting. And Stanford women finally running their full squad and tying with Oregon. That is really promising heading into West Regionals and NCAAs. I thought that was good. And USF and BYU, I thought, did what they were supposed to do at West Coast Conference, just completely annihilated everybody. BYU running as, a pack again and just showing that they have all the interchangeable parts. Connor McMillan getting that individual title. Third BYU guy in the past 3 meets that has won the meet that they entered, and just shows that having 3 different guys win 3 different meets just shows that they have interchangeable parts and that anyone in the top pack can win on a given day. And
what did you think about them putting 5 guys ahead of Jeff Thies? Portland's top guy, our number 3 ranked team.
Yeah.
Although we dropped them a little bit this week.
Well, Portland went into this very clearly saying, Coach Rob Connor saying that he didn't care about conference.
Right, and he didn't. He left 4 of the guys at home.
Yeah. So, it shouldn't, wasn't a huge surprise that they didn't, roll out at conference, but, Portland always rolls out at West Regionals and NCAA, so we'll see them in full force then.
Do you feel like it's kind of disappointing not to see that head-to-head matchup between Portland and BYU that we were expecting?
At conference?
Yeah.
It just shows that they clearly don't care about the conference meet. And it is kind of a bummer because that's when a lot of rivalries develop, is within the conference. And
because you can see it at Pac-12s. It was such a huge deal for Stanford to take down Colorado and end that streak. And so I feel like just there's so much potential there. Why not care about your conference meet?
Yeah. Well, that's part of the fun of having a conference is having rivalries.
Right.
You want to beat your rival team, and you want to get your team hyped up for beating that guy in that red or blue or whatever jersey. You know? That's part of the fun.
I know Jonathan Galt from Let's Run published a story yesterday, I believe, saying it was bad for the sport that Portland kind of purposely didn't run anybody and didn't care about the conference meet but at the same time,
I didn't think that was a very hot take.
Yeah.
I kind of agree with him in some sense.
I think it is bad. It just sucks because I feel like it can be hard to cover this sport because there's so few meets that matter and so few meets that people care about. And it's part of the reason why I helped cover Big 12s this weekend, and that's always been one of my favorite things to go to. I was at the outdoor meet for that too, and it's just exciting to be in that championship atmosphere. And I mean, really, you only get it a couple times a year. Obviously at NCAA's, but it's fun. I feel like it's fun for the athletes to have conference to look forward to as well.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
But then again, if the Portland guys somehow win, if somehow this strategy, results in them winning NCAA's, then it's okay, that's what you guys had to do for your squad.
Right.
And just with the nature of running, you can only peak so many times a year. You're trying to get more training in. So I can understand it. It's just unfortunate that our sport is boring sometimes.
Well, it depends, what teams choose to do at conference meets. It also depends on what the team's story is for that season. Whether they're dealing with injuries, whether they're dealing with just trying to get them through to the most important time in the season, which is obviously to make it to November 18th, NCAA championships, and peak there. But, depending on what your team's situation is, obviously every team prioritizes November.
Right.
But I do think there's a lot of, good in also putting some priority in the conference meet, just because, it creates hype for the fans. It creates hype for your team, and winning conference is bragging rights.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it was cool at Big 12s. Texas, the host team, who we haven't talked about all season, the men are, they've been unranked all season. They came out on their home course and came within a point of winning the whole thing. And I think they were excited. Eventually, when I interviewed some of them, they were happy, but also a little devastated at first because they came so close to winning their first title.
Ugh,
and
I saw the results there.
And especially, Oklahoma State is sort of like Colorado. I mean, even more so, they've had this stranglehold on the conference for the past 9 years. They only took third. Iowa State ended up winning. And just so to see some of the emotions that went into that was really cool and exciting. And also, of course, these aren't top 5 caliber teams. I think all of them, and I mean, maybe not all of them will make it to nationals, but I think all of them have a very strong chance to make it to nationals. So, like you said before, it kind of depends on that team's story this season, and they have a different dynamic than someone like Portland, who, is ranked in the top 5 and is gunning for that national title.
Yeah, for sure.
So
you had fun at Big 12s, though?
I did, yeah. It was exciting. It was cool. I mean, I already talked about the team battle a little bit, but even individually, on the men's side, Hassan Abdi from Oklahoma State, he literally stopped in the middle of the race. And I saw him from far away because I was standing by the finish line. And so I couldn't tell who it was, but I thought it might be him. So I was trying to text Gordon, who was commentating. I was like, I think that's Abdi. I think he's last right now. The race is halfway over. And then it turned out that it was him, and his shoe had come off for the second year in a row at conference.
Yeah.
And he somehow just
happening in Lubbock last year.
Sprinted all the way back up. Well, actually, I talked to Dave Smith, and he said he learned from last year. Where last year I think he went too hard to get back to the front again. And this year he was more patient and didn't win till the very end. But that was crazy to me. To be halfway through a race,
how about
and be able to work your way up. How about, yeah, that's a problem.
How about let's learn to keep your shoe on first. I mean, props to you. You're still able to pull that off, but let's keep your shoes on. Maybe take them or something.
And then in the women's race, Iowa State freshman Kaylee Logue, who has been a star high school runner, she just zoomed out to the front. I was like, whoa, is she in way better shape than we thought she was?
She's in good shape.
She is in good shape.
Coach Andrea kept telling me, after GRIAC, she was just saying that Callie after that race said she could have gone faster.
Oh, okay.
And she's been doing solid ever since. Like pretty,
she has, yeah.
like respectable finishes at Wisconsin.
No, she's legit.
Yeah.
But I think she was trying to get out hard, and I talked to Coach Andrea after the race too, and she said that Callie kind of looked at her and was like, "What do I do now? No one came with me." She's like, "Just run your race." And so I was impressed because she was able to keep her composure, and I think she ended up being the 4th place finisher, whereas, you know, if you go out super hard, the pack swallows you back up. It would be easy to kind of lose confidence and finish a little further back and not have a great day. But, I mean, she was the top freshman, definitely had a great day. Although Sharon Loketti ended up being the individual champion, repeating again. So she's kind of coming around into shape.
That race. Yeah. I mean, 2nd year in a row, right?
Yeah. And she's a junior, so I think she's probably going to win again next year.
Yep.
So
very cool.
Yeah, conferences were fun.
I wish I could have been there, but I was cheering on a different race, a stupider race, I would say.
What was the race you're at?
The Cactus Rose 4x25 mile relay.
Oh wow.
Yes, a very silly relay.
So every 4 people, each person runs 25 miles.
Oh yeah.
Like, why don't they just make it a 4x marathon?
Good question.
Right? It's so close to a marathon.
That's a good question.
Maybe it like psychs some people out to make it a marathon. It's like, okay, we'll stop at 25.
At that point, I mean, you might as well just keep going.
And that's like in Bandera, right?
Yeah, Bandera, Texas, super hilly, hill country. I didn't run, obviously. I would never do that. More of a middle distance lady. But my fiance ran, and he said that the terrain was so crazy that at times he was walking because
oh my God.
It was like rock climbing.
Yeah. I did a race on there once, and it was not what I thought it was going to be like a race. And no, there's parts where you literally have to walk because it's like,
yeah,
it's just like this.
At one point, I told him I'd be the backup if in case, you know, like I've only run 16, 17 miles. That's the longest I've ever done, and it was an accident.
Yeah.
So this would have been like a death march for me if I had to be pulled in. So thank God I didn't.
How long did it take them to finish?
16 hours and something minutes. I don't remember.
Man.
Yeah. They were second.
Wait.
They didn't even win.
Really? What was the winning time? I'm going to do some math right now.
The winners ran like 14 hours something.
14 hours. Wait. So.
Yeah. They were good. So that's what
That's
what I was doing on Saturday. I was cheering on and you know, feeding the team a little bit. Making sure our dog didn't run away.
Well, then you're going to go cover a real marathon.
Yes.
A full marathon.
A full road
this
marathon.
coming weekend in New York, which should be awesome.
Yeah.
What are you excited to see?
Several things. I'm excited. Well, excited/sad. It is Meb's last professional
That's right.
race. So yeah, I'm excited to see him run. I've been able to cover several of his races since getting this job at FloTrack. I watched him run Boston. I've watched him run New York before. And like watching Meb run, no matter how he does or what happens, you just always feel, you just are always cheering for him. Like you always just want him to do well. You're just like, you just want to hug him the whole time.
Yeah. Because I feel like after winning Boston in 2014, he's kind of like just the people's champion. Like that was such an amazing moment that I feel like a lot of people have that same feeling towards him.
Yeah, that's probably what he will always be known for the most is, you know, winning in Boston 1 year after the finish line bombings, which was just one of the most epic sports moments in history.
Yeah.
And just, you know, interviewing Meb before and talking to him, he's just such a genuinely nice guy. And like when you meet these types of athletes, you really hope that they are as cool as they appear in, you know, media and everything. And he is just as cool, if not cooler.
Yeah. Oh yeah, he's so gracious, so nice.
Yeah.
Like at Boston this year, I was trying to interview him, and I ended up going in the elevator with him and his family all the way up to their room so I could get the interview. And he was just like, yeah, whatever you need. Like I was like, you know, he's like literally can barely walk because he just finished a marathon.
Yeah. Yeah.
But just Yeah, it was awesome.
Yeah, so this being his, last race as a professional, a lot of people are kind of thinking that he's going to go into this as like kind of a swan song type of victory lap thing, but he keeps saying that he's not going to approach it that way, that he's going to go for it. He
wants to win.
Yeah, he's still going to go hard and go for it, and God bless him, 42 years old. And he's still running as well as he is, and, obviously not every race is going to be, a PR or close to his PR, but the fact that he's still, like, solid for this long, I mean, obviously is incredibly impressive, and I think there's going to be a lot of tears, I think, in the media room and outside of the media room when he finishes.
And I know you said you're still working on the preview for New York. Do you have your picks yet on who's going to win, or not sure yet?
I mean, I think Wilson Kipsang is probably going to win the men's race. After dropping out of Berlin 2 months ago, decided to come to New York and run New York, and he's won New York before. He's thrown out the idea of possibly breaking the course record, 2:05. So, which is pretty quick, especially for that course.
New York is tough.
New York is a tough course. That would be a tough course record to break. Wilson won Tokyo earlier this year, 2:03, and
yeah, that's true. I think it was disappointing to see him not finish the race in Berlin, but of course you can understand if there's another potential race on the calendar.
Yeah, and I guess the reason why he dropped out of Berlin at 30K was he said he took some water at the water stop and just started to cramp up in his stomach and just didn't really understand why, but just didn't feel good, and at that point it's not really worth trying to push through. So luckily we get to see him come back in New York.
That's right.
And then the women's race, oh man, well Mary Keitany kind of has New York's number.
Yeah.
That is her jam. But Shalane running is going to be really exciting. First marathon this year. First marathon since Rio, when she had that amazing performance at the Olympics.
Wow, that's right.
She had injuries earlier this year with, falling on a run and, hurting her back. But she keeps saying that that injury actually was kind of a blessing in disguise because it forced her to kind of chill out and relax for a little bit. And sometimes injuries are that way, though.
Yeah.
Obviously you don't think that in the moment. It's complete hell when it's happening, and you are just so angry with everything. But it's kind of cool to hear Shalane admit that might have been the best thing that could have happened to her.
Yeah.
Just to give her body a rest.
Yeah. It definitely always gives you perspective, too, not being able to do what you want to do.
Yeah.
And, how cool, I wonder, it must have been for her to see, Amy Craig, win a medal at the World Championships this summer in the marathon, and what kind of confidence that gives her going into her own marathon again.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure. That's one of the coolest things to see with that group, Amy, Shalane, just that whole Bowerman Babes group. It's grown so much in the last 2-3 years. I mean, at one point, it was just Shalane.
Right,
Not
yeah,
too
she
long
was like
ago,
the only girl.
Like just Shalane. Emily did join when she graduated, so 2011, 2012. But for a long time, it was just the two of them. And the last few years, it's been so cool to see all these women want to join this group and create this unit. I love that. And obviously, they've been super successful on the world and Olympic stage, and it's just really inspiring to see.
I'm definitely curious how Kate Grace is going to do now that she's joined them. That's pretty cool.
Oh, that's a good move on her part.
Yeah.
It's going to be good. Yeah.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see.
Yeah.
All right. Well.
A lot to say.
A lot to say. Thanks for joining us today. Stay tuned all this week. Taylor's going to be in New York getting all the interviews. And if you're in Canada, you can watch the marathon on our website. And some other countries too. Check it out on the site. And yeah, we'll see you next time.